Hello everybody, welcome to the Chrono Cross Endings Guide. I'm actually throwing these together after doing a complete walkthrough of the game. In the end of the walkthrough there, I did the good ending, so I'm actually not going to include that in this video. I also will not be including the bad ending, because there isn't actually much difference between the good ending and the bad ending. Basically, the good ending just has a bunch of extra scenes added to the bad ending. Here, I'm actually starting out here with... I'm going to try to do these chronologically as the game progresses. So these are going to all be endings that you can achieve really with like a New Game Plus. Or I guess even a Continue Plus would work too. But the first one is actually acquired by going to Opasa. Actually, all of these are done by traveling to the Opasa beach and using the time egg at the beach there. Now, this first ending is called the programmer's ending, or the development room, however you want to say it. And this one is actually you have to defeat the time devourer before you speak with Lena on the pier for the first time, and before you recruit Poshel. So basically, this is the only, I believe, the only ending in the game where Surge has to actually be alone in order to defeat the Time Devourer. I'm guessing that would technically make this one the most difficult ending to obtain. I usually just equip the green plate on Surge, usually a couple of healing elements, and then just go to town with physical attacks, which, that's, pretty easy. I'm actually, throughout this entire video, I'm going to basically be cutting out my battles with the Time Devourer. I don't feel like there's much reason to include that actual footage. And then here, as far as the development room, I'll actually cut the commentary here at times, just because, like, for this one specifically, basically I'm just talking to, the developers of the game. And, if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and read what the developers had to say about the game. However, I will be continuing the actual commentary when the next ending, I suppose, pops up. So after I've basically talked to all these people, then we'll talk about how to obtain the next ending. So I will leave it at that. Okay, so this is the next ending. This one's referred to as General Kid, I believe. So basically, in order to get this one, you have to cross the dimensions, and actually, you have to beat the game before you break into Viper Manor. So this one's fairly easy. Obviously, we've now, or you should be able to recruit 3 characters to help out. To be honest, the game is fairly easy to defeat to beat if you're at 99 stars, which I was for actually all of these videos. But that being said, if you're not at 99 stars, it can be much more difficult or time-consuming, anyways, to beat these. So this ending is all about Surge's choice, essentially not to go along with Kid. So it kind of cuts off where Kid will end up, going into Viper Manor alone. So kind of an interesting ending here, and you'll actually see Kid will enter the screen from the right-hand side and wait around a little bit, and then I think she kind of realizes that Surge either isn't interested in continuing on or whatever, but she takes off on her own. But anyways, that's pretty much it for that. Again, you just really have to beat the game before Viper Manor and after you've crossed over into the other world. So keep that in mind. That is how you obtain this one. Okay, so our next ending here is referred to as the true hero. Now, I've actually got 3 different variations on this ending. The first one here, I believe, is basically after I actually decided not to save Kid, but went through the story far enough to get Kid back into the party. Now, there isn't a whole lot of difference between this one specifically and the next one. The difference between this one and the next one, though, is that in the next video, we've basically decided to help Kid, but I should say decided to help Kid and progressed far enough to see Korcha essentially proposing, I guess, to Kid. So that's the difference between this one and the previous. Now, like I said, this is basically just a slight variation on the next video, or I should say, or the next, I guess, iteration of this ending. Again, there isn't a whole lot of difference. To be honest, the next video actually provides more footage, but it's essentially the same. So this one I would almost say is pointless, and I probably, to be completely honest, could have left this out. But I thought it was interesting anyway to see that there's actually more variations on this specific ending than kind of actually really the other ones. There's and that's all based on whether or not you decided to save Kid, and again, how far you actually progressed along that line. So anyways, yeah, I'll let the rest of this play out. It's kind of humorous, especially the end. Actually, even this part is pretty funny. So anyways, yeah, like I said, so I'm gonna let this finish out, and then we'll talk a bit about the next ending in a bit. Okay, so this ending, like I said, basically, it's basically the same thing as the previous one. This is still the true hero, it's called, and this is with Kid back in your party. So the difference between this one and the previous one was, like I stated earlier, for this one you have to progress far enough after the point where Kid basically gets poisoned to actually restore her. Now, this one specifically, though, the difference between this one and the next one is that the next one actually is basically you choosing not to save Kid, and then beating the game as she's still, I guess, sick. So basically, you can choose to, or I should say, let me go back to this one. Basically, we chose to save Kid and progressed basically all the way through that until the point where Korcha basically asks Kid to marry him. So you have to see that part in order to get this ending. All right, so this is going to be the third and final variation of the previous two endings that I displayed there. I used the time accelerator quite a bit for this ending because we've already gone through the footage basically, twice. So once again, though, the major difference between this one is when choosing whether or not to save Kid, you have to choose not to save her. And then you actually have to beat the game before she re-enters your party. If you wait all the way until she re-enters your party, you will get the first ending of these three. However, if you beat the game earlier than that, you will get this ending. And the major difference for this one, and it actually is pretty neat, that Norris kind of recruits Kid by essentially going and getting the Hydra humor apparently himself and bringing it to Goldove to heal her, which then again kind of prompts her to almost join him, I guess, instead. So kind of an interesting variant on this, as well as it may answer some questions if you've got them on whether or if you chose not to save Kid. Basically, this answers the question of who brought the Hydra humor to Goldove to save Kid. Obviously, that being Norris. So, interesting little, I guess, tie-in, I suppose, or resolution of events. And while the Kid Orcha just chopping carrots like crazy, I assume those are carrots. But anyways, I'm gonna, you know what? There isn't a whole lot left of this ending, so I'm gonna finish this out. And being that I didn't really talk about the Shaker brothers and Pierre here, I thought that this was just hilarious. So, Pierre claiming that he's the hero, he's got all the hero equipment in the game. However, acting not exactly like such a hero here, I thought was absolutely hilarious. So he doesn't want to run, which is one part that's kind of funny. You can see, before you, or just outside the smithy in Termina there, you've got the little boy running around in circles saying he's training to be your hero, which I think is funny because then Pierre complains and he doesn't want to run. So apparently the kid knows something Pierre doesn't. All right, so those three were never heard of again. I assume that means that Lynx defeated them. So I guess, again, Pierre wasn't the greatest hero. Although, to be fair, he didn't have the hero blade at that point, so maybe that would have changed things. Okay, moving on. This ending is referred to as the Nikki concert, or the, was it Magical Dreamers? Yeah, I think that's their little band name. So in order to get this one, you actually have to, I think you have to beat the game with Nikki and Razlie in your party. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case or if they just have to be recruited. I'm not sure. So basically, in order to get this ending, you have to choose Nikki as your guide to Viper Manor, and then you have to choose to save Kid in order to recruit Razlie. And then basically beat the game before Lynx becomes a controllable character. So I think kind of any time in between there. Basically what I did was immediately after recruiting Razlie, so I beat the Pentapus and then recruit Razlie, and then I just left the Hydra Marshes right away and then beat the game, and that was how I was able to get this ending. So anyways, I'm gonna cut the commentary again for a little bit until the next ending starts to play. But this one was, definitely an interesting ending. All right, so this ending here is basically right after Surge becomes Lynx, I guess, or after you're playing as Lynx. Basically, immediately after you leave the Hydra Marshes, you can go get this ending. So right after you should have Lynx, Harl, and Sprig. You can immediately head to Opasa Beach, beat the game, and this is the ending you will receive. All right, so this next ending here has some fairly tight requirements. Basically, you have to rescue Riddle from Viper Manor, but basically it has to be right after you've rescued Riddle, but before you head to Hermit's Hideaway and essentially team up with everybody, or I should say maybe before Fargo rescues you from Hermit's Hideaway. So again, some fairly tight restrictions there. You have to really be careful on how far you're progressing in order to get this ending here. All right, so this ending here is going to be the Darkened Fate, I guess, is the name of this one. And this one, basically, you have to defeat this one, or I should say, you have to beat the game before you defeat Fate at Chronopolis. Now, there's another. This one is very close to the next one. The difference between the requirement difference between this one and the next one is that if you progress too far and actually get the Master Mune, you're not able to get this ending. So basically, again, before you even defeat Fate, this is and you have to beat the game. So again, that's kind of the cutoff. Just make sure you don't have the Master Mune for this one. Otherwise, you get the next ending. All right, so this ending here is going to be the career change, I guess, name of it, or Viper Kindergarten, whichever one you want to go by. And this one is, again, very similar to the last one as far as requirements. The big difference, though, between this one and the previous is that you have to have the Master Mune in order to get this ending, which might be obvious from the fact that Dario appears in this ending. All right, so this is the final ending. I believe it's referred to as either the Dragon God's Vengeance or like Return of the Downtrodden or something like that. I've read two different names in two different spots. But anyways, this one, Terra Tower has to have risen, but basically it has to be, I believe, before you defeat the Dragon God in its first form. So really, anytime that the Terra Tower is up in the air, but before you actually defeat the first form of the Dragon God, or the first form of the Time Devourer, however you want to say it. But anyways, that's going to be it. That is all of the endings, as well as, I guess I kind of tossed in an extra variant of the True Hero ending. But I hope you enjoyed this guide. The game was a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend playing to anyone who enjoys the classic old RPGs like I do. But anyways, like I said, I hope this guide was helpful. This is going to be it for my Chrono Cross playthrough, so I hope it was enjoyable, and hope you join me for more videos. All right, as always, thank you for watching.